What you don't know about creepy, sleepy, slimy, sloppy Joe. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. What you don't know about Joe. Yes, this is part one of my series of what you don't know about Joe. And as a subtitle, I probably would say something like, and what if? Now, what am I referring to? Donald Trump. The stuff that we're going to be exploring about creepy, sleepy, slimy, sloppy Joe throughout this series, you have to ask yourself, what if that was Donald Trump? Do you think that the media would be okay with all of this? Do you think that he will get a pass and not be asked certain questions? So, with no further ado, welcome to part one of what you don't know about Joe. Now, let me look around. All right, because of all the heavy censoring and all of that stuff, since we're living in 1984, I'm only going to have the title in the thumbnail, and it'll be part 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth, until we learn everything we need to know about Joe. Okay, so you're just gonna have to keep your ear to the street and look at the picture and read the title, because YouTube and Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, they all want Joe to win. Okay, they want him to win. So I might have to disguise some of the stuff that I'm saying and doing in the video, because I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble. So anyway, if they see me right now, I be in trouble. Okay, so let's get into it. Part one of what you don't know about Joe. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kevin's Corner. Now, listen, this first clip is coming from Joe Biden. And, did you know that Joe fought hard against racism and the KKK? I mean, he was an advocate against it. He was like, you know what, I don't care if our whole party started the KKK and fought against all that legislation. That right there, it means nothing to me, because you know what? I'm all about focusing on making sure everybody have equality and everybody is racially sensitive, okay? And so, therefore, I found a clip from Blaze TV, and they were just, going back throughout Joe's history and showing how he wouldn't even get close to anybody that even resembled racism, KKK, slave master, none of that. He was like, look, I don't care. I don't care if they were in our party. Just the fact that this person was connected to whatever racially insensitive group, I ain't got nothing to do with him. And with that being said, let's check out part one of Joe standing up for racial injustice. Check it out.
Then why does a man who has expressed outward admiration of a famous KKK leader continue to be allowed to represent one of the two major parties in the United States as its presidential nominee? I'm talking, of course, about Joe Biden, the man chosen to eulogize Robert C. Byrd, former KKK leader. You can only assume that the C stood for Caucasian. Robert Byrd wasn't just a KKK leader, but he was a KKK recruiter. Think about that for a second. He convinced other people to join the KKK. He went to people that didn't think it was a good idea to join the KKK before and convinced them that it was a good time to join now. This is the man that Joe Biden eulogized. How would you summarize a life like that?
The remarkable thing about him is he traveled a hard path. He devoted his life, though, to making that path a little easier for those who follow. This is a guy who continued to taste and smell and feel the suffering of the people of his state.
Oh.
He tasted it.
Tasted it.
That's why it was so deeply ingrained in him.
What you talking about, Willis? So you mean to tell me Joe Biden, the man who's been running around calling Trump a racist and all of that stuff, and the Democratic Party allowed Joe Biden to eulogize Robert Byrd, The same Robert Byrd that this man was just describing as one of the top leaders of the KKK, a recruiter? No way. You know what? I'm sure as I watch these clips, Joe Biden's going to flip it and say, you know what? Robert Byrd was a racist Ku Klux Klan member, and the way he lived is probably the way he died, meaning filthy and racist, and probably won't even get a shot at the title when it comes down to heaven because this man was a racist. He's a racist. And I'm sure Joe's going to express that because, see, this eulogy took place in 2010. Unlike all the statues that they want us to tear down that was built back in the 1900, early stuff like that. That stuff is, you know, in the past, you know. But this was kind of current. So I'm sure as we go through these clips, we'll find that Joe Biden addresses this racism, or at least someone in his party has to come out and say, you know what, even though Robert Byrd was a high-ranking Democrat, his affiliation with the KKK makes us all have to denounce him and all say, you know what, Robert Byrd, we disavow him. Okay, get his statues down, pictures, any literature he wrote, any legislation he ever proposed, get it out of there. So let's finish seeing how Joe brings it home and shows us why all black folks should vote for him.
Of course, Byrd wasn't always in the KKK. He eventually left as it became a tad unfashionable. But he didn't let that stop him. He continued to fight for his white supremacist ideas. 2 years after leaving the KKK, he wrote in a letter, quote, "Rather I should die 1,000 times and see Old Glory trampled in the dirt, never to rise again, than to see this beloved land of ours become degraded by race mongrels." End quote. Just because he left the Klan, he wouldn't give up. The fact that he always fought for his principles was something that Joe Biden truly admired, as he noted while specifically referring to Byrd's early years.
Having to work at an early age, he had an incredible determination.
Yes, he sure was determined, I'll say that. In fact, he set records for his determination. He led an 83-day filibuster against the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and even ranted for a record-breaking 14 hours against civil rights. Among his ranting was supposed scientific evidence about how black people's brains were smaller, proving they were inferior. He had strong principles, and he fought hard for them. That might be what Joe Biden admired most.
But ladies and gentlemen, of course, it's more than the name we're not going to forget. It's his courage.
Oh, courage.
He died like he lived. He died like he lived his life. He never stopped fighting. How many people would have hung on as long as he did? How many people would have had the ability to get back out of that hospital bed and get in a wheelchair and come in and vote for this? He never stopped thinking about his people.
Thinking of his people. Interesting thing to praise there, Joe. Some people would look back at this record and say it was, I don't know, racist. Some would say prejudiced. Some would, I would guess, use the term incredible esteem.
If you didn't already know it, it's pretty clear the incredible esteem your father was held in. I know you've known that your whole life.
Oh, I'm sure you have. Look, a record like that does not deserve incredible esteem. But then again, I'm not a member of the party of the KKK, and I've never been invited to wax poetic about a KKK recruiter.
Now, wait just the minute. By now, as Joe is eulogizing Robert Byrd, I would think that the whole tone of the eulogy would just start to change and become dark and start to address this man's past history. Because remember, the Democrats do not believe that one could overcome their past. Any type of thing you've ever done in the past that might come across as a smidge, insensitive, racist, sexist, xenophobic, all of those things, you got to get canceled. I mean, there is no excuse for that. We can't overlook that stuff. If you don't believe me, ask Kevin Hart. This man told a couple jokes on Twitter. They went back in time and got him. or Kaylee McEnany in college simply said that I think it was Domino's was her favorite pizza, and they're demanding that Domino's denounce Kaylee because the left is so intolerant. They would never believe that Robert Byrd, aka Grand Poobah of the Klan, could ever be a different person. He's always tied to the Klan. He's always tied to racism. And by Joe eulogizing him and not recognizing that, I would think by now, if the media were doing their job, they should be running up to Joe, sticking this mic in his face and saying, Joe, we have video footage of you eulogizing Robert Byrd, the known racist KKK member. You said nice things about him, Joe. Do you mean that? Or do you still support racism in the KKK? Because that's what they did to Trump. Remember in the beginning of this video, I said the subtitle would be, what if? Well, what if it was Donald Trump eulogizing this man, Robert Byrd? Do you think the media would let that go? Or would they be like, we need you to... Now, understand this. Donald Trump never even hung out with the Klan, none of that stuff. And when David Duke said, well, I endorse Donald Trump, the media ran right up to him. Do you love David Duke? You do. You love him. Please tell us, how long have you been in the Klan, Trump? I mean, are you going to denounce him? Yes, I denounce him. We need you to do that 12 more times. All of that stuff. But this guy, half of the black folks probably that's going to vote for this dude don't even know he was giving a eulogy to the Klan member. Yeah, never withdrew those statements. But I'm sure Joe Biden, being as woke as he is, and all of those pro-black, angry, sensitive people, and others, many white liberals who are tearing up everything, will get hold to this footage and be offended and demand an explanation. Let's see how this keeps going.
Eventually, Robert Byrd would mention that perhaps the KKK wasn't such a good idea. And to be fair, it only took him over a half-century to deliver these deeply principled words of guidance to younger politicians about the KKK. Quote, "Don't get that albatross around your neck. Once you've made that mistake, you inhibit your operations in the political arena." As you can see, he definitely didn't abandon the public face of racism for political expediency. Of course not. He really meant that, everybody. But it was guidance and mentoring like this that brought Biden and Byrd together as friends.
He was a friend, and he was a mentor, and he was a guide.
Oh, isn't that nice? I sure hope Uncle Joe learned a lot from Senator Byrd. Now, not everyone saw that, hey guys, avoid the KKK or it could hurt your career, as strong enough of a denouncement. That's why in 2001, like this century, Robert Byrd went on TV to tell his real truth about racism, as only Robert Byrd could, with multiple uses of the N-word.
Race relations.
They're much, much better than they've ever been in my lifetime. I think this is my personal opinion, I think we talk about race too much.
Yeah.
I think those problems are largely behind us.
Oh, okay. That's good.
I think we can all profit by our mistakes. Mm-hmm. I think we've reached a new plateau.
New plateau.
And I think it's going to keep going upward.
That's not a plateau.
That understanding and race relations. But I think I just think we talk so much about it that may help, I think, create somewhat of an illusion.
Illusion, okay.
I think we try to have goodwill. My old mom told me, Robert, you can't go to heaven if you hate anybody.
Oh, that's going well.
We practice that.
That's good.
There are white niggers. I've seen a lot of white niggers in my time. I'm going to use that word.
Oh, wow. We didn't say we wanted to use that word, Rob. That one really really kind of rolled off the tongue, didn't it? You know, it's almost like he's been saying that word a dozen times an hour for 70 years. And guess what? He was.
Oh my God! Did you hear that? This man used the N-word. I guess he wasn't a brush on the current liberal movement and the direction that it was going in, because this was, I think he said 2001. Now understand, Joe Biden, creepy, sleepy, sloppy, slimy Joe, said that he's a friend and a mentor. With friends and mentors like him, who needs enemies? You got to be kidding me. So him, Hillary, and probably many more were being mentored by the Grand Poobah of the clan. He was kind of like, I guess, the evil emperor in Star Wars, with Vader and all of them. So this man dropped the N-word, and I guess what he tried to do, which to me it sounded like he was just fishing for some statements or words to make him not seem as evil as he was. Mom told me you can't make it into heaven with hate in your heart. Now I'm about to die. I figure I might try to hit a buzzer beater at the end of the game and make it into heaven by saying something that might make y'all think that I've repented of my wickedness and used the N-word and applied not only to just black people, because there are some white bleep bleeps and there are some black bleep bleeps. This man died and they eulogized him as a wonderful man. After hearing him drop that N-bomb, why isn't Joe Biden explaining to everyone why he held him as a great man? Why isn't Joe Biden denouncing him and saying my whole eulogy needs to be retracted? And I was deceived by this man as I let him mentor me and be my friend. And once again, let's go ahead and apply the what if theory. What if Donald Trump was mentored by this man? I mean, nobody has any recordings of Donald Trump ever using the N-word. And they are running around saying, oh, well, Donald Trump used the N-word all the time. Oh, yeah, well, where's the recordings? Oh, well, you know what? We're coming with them. Never got them. We heard this man with our own ears and saw him with our own eyes. And nothing, as Joe Biden praised him. Where are the cameras? Don Lemon, Joey Reid, do your job. Which at this point is ignoring all of this because y'all don't care. You're the overseers for the Democrat Party to keep black people blinded from stuff like this.
Even if you take the N-word out of that rant, he'd still get canceled for that today. The illusion of racism? How dare you? Think of the dedication to white supremacy one must have to produce massively offensive quotes on the same topic 3/4 of a century apart. You know what I call that? Courage.
He was fiercely devoted, as you've all heard, to his principles. Even once he became power, he always spoke truth to power, standing up for the people he proudly was part of.
I'll say this for Joe Biden. That's true. Robert Byrd never stopped thinking about his people. But to most human beings, that is a literal description of everything that was wrong with Robert Byrd. To Joe Biden, it's glowing praise. Now, you could say that Biden is just saying some nice words at a guy's funeral, and you shouldn't read that much into it. And honestly, I have sympathy for that view, as you know. I mean, if you watch the show, you know I think cancel culture is always dumb. I am not rooting for this stuff. But I'm old enough to remember when Trent Lott spoke at Strom Thurmond's 100th birthday party and honored his career. You know what happened to him in a much less sensitive era? He lost his job and his political career was destroyed. Now, in the era of pancake spokespeople getting canceled, Joe Biden is going to get a free pass for eulogizing a freaking KKK member? Are you...
So I guess I'm going to have to do the job of the funky, nasty, dirty, stinking, no good, backstabbing, two-bitten liberal media and put my nerd glasses on, because what I just heard is Joe Biden say this man was dedicated to his principles. Excuse me, Mr. Creepy, sleepy, sloppy, slimy. What did you mean when you said Robert Byrd was dedicated to his principles? Were you referring to the principles of what, black people being slaves and less than white people and being not as intelligent, and the scientific non-proof data that black brains are a little bit smaller than white brains? Was that what you were referring to when you were saying all those nice, wonderful things about him during his funeral? Could you elaborate? Crickets, crickets, nothing. We're not getting anything out of Joe. Okay. Well, now what I'm going to have to do, Mr. Creepy, Sleepy, Sloppy, Slimy, is send this video to all of the black people and white liberals who think you really love them and show you eulogizing Robert Byrd. And you know what? Until I get a statement from you, we're just going to assume mum's the word.
But one thing is for sure. If Robert Byrd were around for his own funeral, he would have been proud that he was honored by Joe Biden, a man who constantly is saying things like this.
When he was over there in Iraq for a year, people would come to him and talk about what was happening to him at home in terms of foreclosures, in terms of bad loans that were being, these Shylocks who took advantage of these women and men while overseas. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
Oh.
In Delaware, the largest growth in population is Indian Americans moving from India. You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
Now it all makes sense. All of that mentoring by Robert Byrd got deep down on the inside of Joe Biden. It's not in vain. All of Robert Byrd's teaching and preaching and mentoring is not in vain. Because, see, every blue moon, Joe Biden will leak that teaching out. Look at Barack Obama. He's sharp. He's clean cut. He's a storybook waiting to happen. He's not like all the rest of the black folks. That's what you were saying, Joe. How about this one? Yeah, they're going to put you back in chains and all of that stuff, or the things that you just said right here. All of those things was Robert Byrd leaking out of Joe Biden without anybody challenging this man. But that's why you have Kevin from Kevin's Corner. Here's my glasses. Excuse me. All those listeners, I'm doing this for you. Because surely I wouldn't want minorities and all of those white liberals to go down to the polls and vote for this man who has never openly came out and addressed eulogizing Robert Byrd. And apparently Robert Byrd never repented of his wickedness. He only did it for convenience, political convenience. Other than that, we have to assume this man died a full-blown racist KKK member. Therefore, I need Joe Biden, Creepy, Sleepy, Sloppy, Slimy Joe, to come out and address this and denounce this man along with the rest of the whole Democrat Party and Hillary Clinton, who was giving this man, Robert Byrd, some sugar right on the lips. Now, you've been listening to Kevin and Kevin's Corner, where I'm going to be doing this series about what you don't know about Joe. I'm going to expose this bum. So make sure you hit like, share, subscribe, and, pass this video to everybody you know, all the pro-black, power to the people, self-righteous folks who, whether you're white or black, white people walking around with the white guilt, black folks walking around mad for nothing. I need them to see this and then look me in the face or you and say, well, I don't care. I'm still voting for Joe Biden. Because even though all of this stuff is worse than what they've been telling me about Trump, I still am going to say in my mind that Trump's worse. And all you got to do is just ask, what if that was Trump in every one of these clips? Yeah. So you've been listening to Kevin and Kevin's Corner. Don't forget, check me out every Wednesday night live in Kevin's Corner on Facebook, YouTube, and my radio blog talk show. Check out Extreme Teas, my sponsor. The link's below this video. If you like their products, put Kevin in the promo code. You get a 20% discount. And if you want to donate to Kevin and Kevin's Corner, feel free. There's a link below the video to do that as well. Since I'm now a full-time YouTube conservative commentator. Anyway, Check this out. I also got to give a shout out to Blaze TV for these clips that they provided for us, all this wonderful, rich knowledge so that we can be more informed about Joe Biden. God bless y'all. See y'all next time in Kevin's Corner. Take care.